Welcome, everyone, to episode 77 of the Thundercraps podcast, where we forge through the shitstorm that was WCW Thunder. There's a new sheriff in town. Your host, Big, Bad, and Black, Josh Kaiser. And joining me today, a man who is supposed to attack with his gut, not have a gut, Kyle Hoagland.
What's happening, everybody? We were trying to psych ourselves up before we got this started, because peeling behind the curtain, it's been over 2 months since the last time we did a recording. Thanks, China.
Do we really have to peel behind a curtain? I think all of our diehard listeners would know that they haven't had a new episode in over 2 months. So,
I'm talking about like in the post-apocalyptic world where, basically humankind is nothing but dust, and whatever aliens have taken over, maybe there's like someone got a hold of the Spreaker server and got a hold of this episode. And they're like, well, I guess for them, I guess they wouldn't give a shit how late it is, but it's still a conversation to have, Kaiser, okay? I haven't had, meaningful conversation with anybody outside of my wife and my new puppy in, 2 months. So, all right, so I desperately need this banter right now.
It has been a while. We apologize, but, not every day that there's a pandemic and life changes rapidly, and it's weird times. But if there's one thing that can bring us out, it's not a cure for a global pandemic. It is not hope. It is not prayer, but it is reviewing old wrestling episodes from the 1990s on a B show that was pre-taped.
I'm gonna say this is literally the equivalent of taking your medicine. So get ready, kids.
That's right. Let's just get into it, Kyle, because I know you're chomping at the bit. I'm sure I'm chomping at the bit to discuss this August 26th, 1999 edition of Thunder. We are pre-taped. We are somewhere. I got to be honest, I don't remember where we were in this show. It was where we were in episode 76, so just go back and listen to that.
We were in Lubbock, Texas.
I'll take your word for it. We open up, though. The audio sucks. The WWE Network lets us know that they had technical difficulties. And
so we're off on the right track for this particular episode.
Yes, we are. And we got Public Enemy coming out. Their music is dubbed over here, I believe, by the WWE Network. And in doing so, they also dub over the commentary, or the commentary doesn't talk. So the audio is already terrible. It is quiet. It is awkward. And then out comes Sid. So Sid is in a handicap match. Of course, if you've forgotten, Sid is the Millennium Man. He is on a Goldberg-like streak. He's in the 70s or so of victories. Here he is wrestling Public Enemy. He easily buries Public Enemy here in this 2-on-1. He gives him a double choke slam, which I think is the stupidest thing in the world. I cannot... if it was two small guys, I could believe that Sid or somebody of that stature, an Undertaker, a Kane, somebody who does chokeslam, I could almost believe you taking two cruiserweights, grabbing them by their throats, picking them up and slamming them down. But this is Public Enemy here. They're just jumping when you lift up. I just can't get into this. The double chokeslam is going to give you your win. So that's victories, 73, 74. Or something like that for Sid. I gave it a star and 3/4. I didn't really enjoy anything about this, and I was kind of sad for Public Enemy here.
Same thing. I gave this a dud rating. The only thing I got from this was Goldberg only had to fight one of these guys, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, and Sid's fighting two of them at once, so it's already making Sid look like a stronger competitor than Goldberg just by just looking at the eye test. I mean, Goldberg couldn't take on two members of Public Enemy. I mean, what a chump.
True that. Speaking of chumps, we get our Coach Buzz Stearns segment here. He's talking about sweat and sacrifice is going to give you success. This is literally the same promo we saw last week. Of course, Buzz Stearns, if you haven't recalled, this is the Glacier remaking his character as a high school gym coach or something like that.
Which once again, I would have loved to see the what a shift in tone. From going from this almost iconic, I wouldn't say iconic because I'll say Glacier's iconic. Fuck you. You go from this one character that
it's a memorable character.
Yeah, well, I'll say it as it was meant Glacier was created for a very particular reason, and that was to sell merchandise. Like, I don't think he was meant to be like a world heavyweight champion unless he just got over like Rover, which he never did, obviously. But to go from like a a marketing strategy, character to, hey, I'm just a guy who is for the most part like a trainer. Like, I'm working at the power plant to train these new guys. Like, first of all, it never really exudes the idea that he's even a wrestler or that he should be anything that we should fear. He's a guy who is training what looks like complete jobbers.
And that's the thing, is it almost comes off like a joke, but he's not a joke in it, which is where you can't, like, sometimes there's just comedy characters. I consider the segment comedy of sorts, but his character is supposed to be like an intense drill sergeant, and I'm not getting that from him.
No, he looks like like you said, like a gym teacher stuck in a mid to early 90s like teenage movie.
Yeah,
that's what he reminded me of.
Yeah, poor guy, just stuck with bad gimmick after bad gimmick. After this, we get a 6-man tag match. The West Texas Rednecks out here: Kendall Windham, Barry Windham, and Bobby Duncombe Jr. wrestling Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, and Kidman. The match is back and forth early on. We get the crowd really into this match, really into the 6 competitors here. Obviously, well behind Rey, Eddie, and Kidman. At one point, Barry Windham hits a huge superplex, which just looked great. I don't give Barry Windham much credit. Not that I think he was a bad wrestler.
Do you really want to give him credit? Look, as good as it looked, you got to look at the guy who took it.
Well, Eddie took it great too. No, don't get me wrong.
Well, Eddie's also like half the size of Barry Windham too.
Sure, but it's
an easy superplex.
It's a great looking superplex. Eventually, of course, all 6 men are going to get into the ring. Chaos is going to break out here. Eddie Guerrero is going to eventually, I think he drop kicks one of the guys up top. I don't remember which one of the West Texas Rednecks. Ray's going to hit the top rope Frankensteiner. That's your 3 count. The crowd loved it. I gave it 2.25 stars. I thought the match was solid. I don't know who honestly was supposed to be the legal man at the end. You might be able to tell me better, Kyle. But I will say the crowd, I think this is the hottest the crowd is all night. So for that, kudos to the 6 guys.
At the very least, Ray was the legal man. I don't remember off the top of my head. I would have probably bitched if it was wrong, but I think I know Ray for a fact was the legal man. I'm not sure about Bobby Duncombe Jr. I gave this 2.5 stars. It was fine. But one thing that we kind of glossed over during this match was that it was discussed on commentary that the West Texas Rednecks are now the World Tag Team Champions. And I don't know about you, but that kind of took me out of this match quite a bit, because obviously this is a pre-tape show, but the past Nitro, the West Texas Rednecks did beat the Harlem Heat for the tag titles. Now they come out to this show, they don't have the tag titles because in this world, in this timeline, they don't have them yet because this is pre-taped before that Nitro that was live. So I really didn't like the booking. The booking was kind of stupid. I don't know if like an audible was thrown with this match, or with giving the West Texas Rednecks like a world title win on Nitro. But knowing that we already had, excuse me, the West Texas Rednecks in a match with, let's just call them the Filthy Animals at this point, and basically jobbing to them, and then also, we know that the Harlem Heat are going to wrestle the First Family, apparently for the tag titles, because there was a promo from last week where there was a challenge being thrown at them. So that's supposed to happen on this show. So that really threw it out, because now I also know that there's a match coming up that now I also don't give a shit about. I understand the allure of expecting unexpected thing, but it's just I don't know. That's the whole idea of the Wyndham brothers. Not only watching them lose, but then also knowing that they went over on the Harlem Heat after they got back together. They're probably the hottest tag team going on right now, and they lose the tag titles in just 10 days after winning them. It's just, I don't know. There's something weirdly booked. The booking I'm just not a big fan of.
So I agree with you from the Harlem Heat match standpoint. It's hard to get invested in that when you already know the result of what happened the previous night, or, well, earlier in the week, I should say. I'm not as critical about this particular match. I understand the aspect of, well, the West Texas Rednecks lost, and now they're turning around and becoming tag champs. Depends on, I don't know how they won that. I'm assuming shenanigans.
What I'm saying is, what if we were watching Nitro, which I assume, I don't know, mid 1999, maybe we were, maybe we weren't. But let's say we were watching Nitro. We know that the West Texas Rednecks did beat the Harlem Heat. They are the tag team champions.
Yes.
Then they go into a 6-man tag, and they basically just job completely. And to me, that kind of throws me off. I'm like, wait, these are the tag champions.
But hey, that's
they're
the
not
tag champs. Here it's 3 men. So, and they're going against 3 other men. So, it's all right.
But it's not all right because the West Texas Rednecks are still a group. So, like, it's not like 2 guys are the tag champs and their valet or something is thrown in as the 3rd guy. This is 3 bona fide wrestlers in a stable where they all wrestle together anyways. Like, it's not like they don't do 6-man tags on the regular, it feels like. I don't know. Like, the moment that I found out, because once again, I don't watch Nitro. We're not watching Nitro for this particular podcast to kind of go back and look at the notes. Maybe we'll find out some things that happened based on what Thunder gives us. But knowing already that the Wyndham brothers won the tag belts, knowing they didn't come down to the ring with the tag belts, so it had to be explained that they won the tag belts. And then just, I don't know, like I said, I just feel like if that was the plan all along, what was the point in having them job to Kidman, Eddie, and Ray? They could have picked another 3 guys. I don't think that would have been a problem. Where are the Texas Hangmen? Bring them back. That would have been fine. Bring Texas Hangman and, I don't know, Kenny Chaos. Throw him in there too. Like, I would have appreciated that more, to be like, you know what, guys, it's kind of stupid for us to book this match knowing that the tag titles are here on the show with the people that already lost, and now we're also going to have to sell that later. We're going to have to produce that later on.
Do you really think that they care what... When they're booking for Nitro, they don't care.
From a TV show perspective, they should. Like, I understand, like, I actually am more upset that Thunder did this wrong, or WCW, because if anything, WCW is Turner and WCW, they're a TV company. They should care more about continuity than most people should. And there was a creative snafu that resulted in a continuity snafu. And I don't care if it's Thunder or if it's Nitro or WCW fucking Pro. Like, this is a like a national televised TV show, and this type of shit should not happen. It shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Once again, not only this happened, and we're going to talk about the match later, but there's two big things that just makes it worse. Right. If it was just this, it's another thing. But we'll talk more about the other match when we get to it, and I'll bitch about that one even more than this one.
After this match, we get Mean Gene. He's talking to Rick Steiner and Sid. They talk about a revolution, or they talk about Revolution, the team, I should say. Rick Steiner says you don't put a dog in the corner. They talk about Benoit's going to get crippled, and Rick taking Saturn down. So they got their match set for tonight. We then get a Berlin promo.
That's right. He's still coming.
He is still coming. Then Ernest Cat Miller with Sonny Ono. He comes out. The Cat's rocking a vest, a cowboy hat, and a sheriff badge. I thought this was an interesting tactic here, and this is when he's going to throw the hat on the ground and turn heel here on Lubbock, Texas. Sonny Ono starts singing Purple Rain as they're talking about Prince. This leads to Prince Iaukea coming out.
What a segue. Hey, man, you need to call Sonny Ono and talk to him about segues.
Oof. Of course, Ernest Cat Miller is going to give his 3-minute challenge here against Iaukea. And he's going to win the match with the red shoe kick to the head. I give it star and 3/4. I didn't think it was a very good match. I'm also not sure he actually beat him in less than 3 minutes, but nobody really tells us.
Yeah, and no one cared to double check. And maybe we were supposed to know, but the audio was bad. But Yeah, that was the only thing I cared about. The moment that somebody out loud says, I'm gonna beat this sucker in under 3 minutes, I want to know. I want to know if you do it. So that's bad on you, Ernest.
And would you appreciate, because this is sort of his shtick right now, right? He comes out here and talks about how he's the greatest and he's going to whoop your ass in less than 3 minutes. Would you appreciate if all of his matches, because he's a heel, obviously, if all of his matches, he's winning, and even with the red shoe, these heel tactics, but like in 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes, like obviously not 3 minute matches, but he continues to say he beats him down in 3 minutes, or would you prefer him to actually beat his opponent in less than 3 minutes?
I think it would be funny if he wins the match clearly, longer than 3 minutes, asks David Penzer, what was the time, or give me the time on that. And it's oh, you beat him in 5 minutes and 40 seconds. You hear that? I beat you in 2 minutes and 54 seconds. That would be pretty funny. I think it would
fit his character well. Obviously, if it's Sid Vicious here, yes, he should squash you in less than 3 minutes if that's his thing. But I think for the Cat, it would have worked perfectly here.
Plus the Cat seems to also like to talk shit about people that he should not have matches with. I know he's having that I don't know if you want to call it a feud or just a hilarious kind of altercations with Scott Norton, where he kind of talks shit and then Scott Norton beats the living shit out of him, and then he keeps on saying, I beat up Scott Norton, and then Scott Norton comes up, beats the shit out of him again, and he keeps on saying how how he keeps on beating the shit out of Scott Norton. That's his classic Ernest Miller, and yeah, I think he instead of feeling out the crowd, you just steer into that skid, just do it, just be that guy.
Absolutely. After this, we get the tag team champion Harlem Heat defending their titles against Hugh Morris and Brian Knobbs. The match abruptly starts when we came back from commercial break.
Yeah, you want to know why it abruptly started? Because they didn't want to show the tag titles.
Cut out the tag titles, yeah. The First Family, of course, using all the dirty heel tactics they can, distractions. Jerry Flynn is here. Ultimately, Jerry Flynn is going to kick Hugh Morris in the face. Booker T's going to hit a terrible-looking missile drop kick. That's going to be your win. I gave it 2 stars. I thought it was okay, but, I guess, you expect the First Family here to job and the champions to go over. But, Kyle, you can have the board here.
Fuck this match, man. So, once again, First Family challenges the Harlem Heat for the tag titles last week. So my thing I put down, they must be pretty bummed because they're no longer the tag champions. The thing that got me was fine, whatever. You're here to have the match. It's whatever. I'm already past the fact that the continuity is missing. It is what it is. But Hugh Morris was so in character about the fact that they were going to be the next tag champions. He kept on singing into the camera. He kept on yelling at Booker T we're the next tag champions. We're going to win the tag champions. And I'm I got bad news for you, buddy. You're talking to the wrong fucking team at this point. And so fast forward. Obviously, Jerry Flynn accidentally, kicks Hugh Morris. Shitty missile drop kick. I gave it 2 stars. Once again, the 6-man tag, the booking's stupid, it's lazy. And once again, you have the power of being pre-taped to try and edit it however you can. And you can tell they tried. You could tell that they tried because once again, they skipped the intros so that, Booker T and Stevie Ray aren't coming out with the titles. They even cut off the bottom of the camera because at the end of the match, Nick Patrick gives the titles to Booker T and Stevie Ray right in the front on hard camera. So you see it, but you don't. You see Nick Patrick holding titles.
Right.
But you don't see him, and you see him stopping and going over to the Harlem Heat. But it's not like the Harlem Heat are raising the titles in the air or anything like that. But you can tell that Nick Patrick has the titles and he's going over to hand them over to the Harlem Heat. And so it was, once again, it was pretty dull until the ending. And once again, the ending was too predictable. We knew who was going to go over. Booker T still looked pretty good. Stevie Ray looked weird being the guy who was kind of the face in peril. It's not a look I'm used to seeing with Stevie Ray. But this was, TBS chopping the shit out of a match to try and save any kind of continuity out of it. And it just, once again, it just created a really kind of janky TV experience overall.
After this, we get another Buzz Stern promo. He's, all of his jabronis are working out in the gym. He's, really trying to pump them up, saying we bust ours so we can kick theirs. I really think this character is terrible, and I have no faith. I mean, obviously, you don't recall Coach Buzz Stern ever going anywhere in WCW, right? He's not a Hall of Famer. He's not any long-term thing. But even like hindsight removed, I cannot even see that, in August of 1999 where somebody was sitting there like, man, we just hit a home run with this character.
And it's a shame because I think he's really trying hard. It doesn't look like he's phoning it in. I think he's really trying to make Buzz Stern an interesting character. And that's why I feel even worse, is that I think somebody talked him into the fact that, hey, you're going to go back to being Glacier, which I'm sure he probably was not looking forward to going back to being Glacier again. Or you could be this character. And he basically like, hey, you know what? Both of these are dog turds, but I'll take Buzz Stern and I'll try as best I can. And I feel bad, but you're right. I mean, I was still watching Nitro and Thunder at this point in 99. I don't even remotely recall Buzz Stern in the slightest. I don't remember these promos.
Yeah, me either. But I don't know how much WCW I was watching at this time. I think it was on and off. So he's not going to stick out, that's for sure.
Nope.
But who is going to stick out, Kyle, is your favorite tag team. They're up next. Disorderly Conduct.
I thought you were talking about the Texas Hangman. Okay, Disorderly Conduct's a close second.
They're wrestling Dean Malenko and Shane Douglas. If it's a pre-taped Thunder, Disorderly Conduct, they're your MVPs. They're going to be here.
They are the glue of pre-taped Thunders.
Shane Douglas was really trying to get the crowd hyped up. I don't think they could give two shits about this match. Disorderly Conduct, as they typically do in all of their tag team matches, get a little bit of offense in at a time. But obviously they're going to do the job. Dean's eventually going to get the hot tag and the Texas Cloverleaf. I gave it 2 stars. I thought it was a solid squash match, and I got to be honest, we sort of memed it into existence, but I think Disorderly Conduct are a good enhancement tag team.
And I think they need it too, because we're starting to see the emergence of a couple of actual tag teams. Like in 1998-99, and one thing I always remembered about tag teams back then was it always felt like 2 superstar singles guys who just teamed up to win the tag titles, especially in the WWF back then. It was always like Dude Love and Steve Austin. And, sometimes, obviously you get the New Age Outlaws in there that kind of throw that into it a little bit, but you had like the Brothers of Destruction with Kane, the Undertaker. You had Mankind and The Rock, and it was just like all these. It never felt like why are you guys taking tag titles
teams
away?
Right.
Yeah, they're not tag teams. It's 2 bona fide A-list superstars in a tag team match for the tag titles. So this is a point where it's good to have somebody like Disorderly Conduct, because do you really think that the Outsiders, and I'm not going to take anything away from the Outsiders too, because I think they're a great tag team as well. But once again, you're talking about 2 Hall of Famers in Scott Hall and Kevin Nash who had fantastic singles runs. So it's not like, these were 2 bona fide superstars in the singles who then went to WCW as a group, as buddies, and they kind of were a tag team in that sense by association, I guess you could say. And then they end up just being a really dominant tag team just because who the fuck's going to go over on Scott Hall and Kevin Nash in 97, 98 in WCW. But it's nice to know now that we're slowly starting to see the formations of actual tag teams with, I would say, your B-, B+ players that, who are on their way. I would say your Chris Benoit's, your Dean Malenkos, your Perry Saturns, hell, even like at this point, Ray and Eddie and Kidman are doing a thing together. It's like a lot of little mini stables. So in the world where you need to get those guys over without them, in a sense, I guess, getting exposed by fighting, and we're going to see that in the main event tonight. It's good that you have somebody like Disorderly Conduct to make these tag teams that might either be in this like purgatory position or just they're not there yet to really get super over. The Disorderly Conduct is a good litmus test to kind of see exactly where the crowd sees this tag team and how much like they actually want to see that tag team succeed, if that makes sense.
No, yep, I can definitely see that. After the match, DDP's going to be interviewed by Mean Gene. He's going to come out and say, "What a dump." He's going to discuss the 3 names he's got on the top of his hit list here, and it is Sting, Goldberg, and Hogan. So he's basically the top 3 faces. He said he's ready to be a three-time champion. I really wanted him to say that 4 times. Disappointed he didn't.
Just to piss me off.
Yeah.
Don't you love DDP's strategy of being like, he has no real storyline going on right now. So in order for him to try and insert himself into one, he just talks shit about the 3 biggest faces to hope that one of them is going, oh yeah, I'll do a whatever you want to call it, a segment or a spot with DDP. I think that's genius. DDP's like, oh, I got nothing going on. I might as well shit on the 3 most over faces right now, see if anybody bites.
It's a great strategy. If it pays off, it pays off. After this, we get Chavo Guerrero's going to come out. He's wrestling DDP. Of course, DDP starts out with his "Your mom's so fat" joke, and Chavo's going to get on the mic then, and he gets a DDP "Your mom's so fat" joke in return. Of course, DDP's going to slap his face off, and he's going to pretty much Chavo's going to job in this match. DDP's going to get cocky at times, pull him up after 2 counts, kind of toy around, play with him. Chavo's going to get a near 3 fall once or twice in the match, but when DDP is all said and done, he's going to hit the Diamond Cutter. I gave the match 2 stars. I thought it told a good story. I think it's, DDP's trying to push himself as a heel, so I think this is a good match to do that in because Chavo's a very likable character. But it's also sad to see Chavo jobbing right here in a match. I feel like this is the first time we've seen Chavo in a while. So it's like, oh, Chavo's back and he's jobbing, but I understand the reasoning behind it.
And I think that's the main reason why I didn't like this match. I also gave it 2 stars, but I didn't care for the booking here either. Like, I like Chavo and all, and I agree with you that, yeah, sure, I guess feed a likable character to the the shit heel, but I just don't feel like he belonged having that sort of meaningful match with DDP. It felt like we haven't seen Chavo on TV. And once again, we're only talking from Thunder. For all we know, he's been wrestling every single day on Nitro, every single week. We don't know. But it felt like to me, as a TBS lifer and an anti-TNT watcher, apparently, that Chavo has been injured or has been off TV for weeks, if not months. And it just seemed like such a random choice to put Chavo in this match. I'm not against putting Chavo in a match with DDP. I don't know. It just seemed like, welcome back, Chavo, and go ahead and take a dirt nap.
Right. Nope. I agree with you there. At least it was the DDP though, I suppose, and not jobbing in a handicap match against Sid or something.
I was gonna say at least it wasn't Sid. I'll agree with that.
Speaking of Sid, we do move to our main event. It is Sid and Rick Steiner wrestling Saturn and Benoit. The match is interesting. I guess before the match starts, Sid and Rick Steiner are going to threaten to leave and never come back. And other than the 6-man tag earlier, this is probably the hottest the crowd has been. The match,
it's bad when the hottest the crowd ever gets is when Rick and Sid threatened to leave the what, if you guys don't shut up, we're gonna leave. And it was like, yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. Match is solid. Back and forth. Eventually, all hell's gonna break out. Benoit's going to miss the top rope flying headbutt on Sid, but he is going to lock on the crossface, but Sid's going to powerbomb Saturn. Rick Steiner's going to kick Mickey J in the head, which just looked awesome. And Charles Robinson's going to run out. He's going to do the 3 count that Sid had on Saturn. That is your winner. Sid continues his reign, his Millennium Man reign. As you can imagine, Benoit's pissed at Charles Robinson. They play music over everything. There's no commentary. It is a very awkward ending. Revolution end up clearing the ring. Sid's out there. He tears up a Benoit has balls sign. Still no commentary, and we fade to black. I gave it 2.25 stars. I didn't really love the way it kind of ended, but
I like how you called it a dusty finish. I appreciated that.
Yeah, it was a very dusty finish. I thought it was entertaining, though, for what it was, and they tried their best to protect the 4 people in this match. And the crowd was into it, so I guess I'll give it to them for that. But I don't know whether this is the WWE Network and, music and licensing or what, but no commentary audio. It just felt flat for me at the end.
I agree. Now, with that said, I actually rated this a little bit higher. I give this 2.5. I gave it an extra 1/4 star for the Rick Steiner kicking Mickey J in that face. Like, first of all, if you go back and watch it, he has to reach to go and get Mickey J with this fucking foot. So to put in the context here,
it's not like an accidental hit. He's kicking. He's like swinging at him.
Right, which makes it even funnier because the commentary says like, oh, Rick Steiner like inadvertently kicked Mickey J, and I'm like, the fuck he did. But no, to put it in context as far as the end of this match. So after the diving headbutt gets missed by Benoit, so Benoit and Sid are the legal men, I believe, in this point, and they miss the headbutt. Yet even after he misses the headbutt, he still gets the hot tag onto Saturn. So now Sid and Saturn are now the legal men, and they're all kind of cleaning house. Benoit puts the crippler on Steiner. I'm sorry. Rick gets the tag as well. So they double tag in. So Rick and Saturn are the legal men. So towards the end of this is when Benoit puts the crippler on Rick, and I believe Sid powerbombs Saturn. So the 2 legal men are separated from each other. They're dealing with somebody else. So now you have Mickey J, who's trying to ask Rick if he wants to tap, even though Benoit's not the legal man. He gets kicked in the face. Charles Robinson comes in, counts to 3 for Sid, even though Sid's not the legal man. So I don't know if that's just shit heel fucking Charles Robinson, which I'll go with that more than Mickey J looking at the wrong fucking guy,
right,
to see who wants to tap or not.
From the heel aspect to Robinson.
I guess I'll allow it. But once again, you know me, I have to call out when people don't do things right in tag matches. But yeah, match overall was pretty entertaining. Considering the fact that we knew this was going to be Saturn and Benoit fighting Sid and Rick, I thought it was going to be an absolute fucking shit show. But it actually wasn't half bad. Like I said, once again, the ending didn't leave much to like, and it really, I don't think it really sent the crowd home happy, considering that this is now the second half of the tape show.
But do you know if this is the final match of the night? I guess it's hard to say. They probably could have easily had a dark match or something, or
maybe.
whatever.
I mean, I think the last match from last time, I think was Goldberg versus Rocco Rock.
That easily could have been their final match to send everyone home happy.
I guess you can have that. But I said I'm kind of surprised that anyone went over in this match. I was really thinking that this was going to be your classic Thunder main event DQ, which is why maybe I didn't like the ending, because I felt like this of all times, this would have been probably this makes sense to throw out the match type of bullshit. But it didn't happen. So maybe I didn't really care for it then either. Revolution really needs to get their shit together as far as what exactly they're trying to do, because at this point, anything meaningful, they're not getting meaningful wins. And at any point that they're actually put in a match with anybody half meaningful, they job. And so I don't know. Maybe this is the reason why these guys leave in a couple months, or the majority of them leave.
Hard to blame them. That's that said, though, that's your Thunder, Kyle. What did you think about Thunder 77? The 2 months into waiting.
Well, just to put in context, I watched this show 2 months ago. I had to rewatch it again today, and for me, I feel like I should go to jail for that, or get a Lifetime Achievement Award. I'm not saying the show was horrible. Overall, you had 7 matches, and a few of them I can say I was able to stomach through. Not sure if I enjoyed the 6-man more than the main event. Those are definitely my 2 favorite matches, but they were both pretty close. Sid has just been killing people on Thunder as of late. Like, he has just beginning. This is probably one of the biggest heel mega pushes I have seen since we've been doing this podcast. The guy doesn't lose. The guy doesn't even look like he's breaking a sweat. And what makes it worse is that he doesn't really look all that impressive in the wins. He just looks like he's just an impervious guy that just wins matches. It's not like he's wowing me with his work rate. But I don't see this murder spree ending anytime soon. I'm still bummed that we don't know whether or not the Cat and Iaukea went 3 minutes or not. Once again, that was a match I really didn't care for anyways. It really built nothing. That was just literally a comedy spot for the crowd. But once again, I already talked about this in length. The one thing I didn't like about the show was the terrible continuity thanks to the nature of it being pre-taped. There was a lot of editing that needed to be done, and hell, it was so bad that even the WWE Network apologized about it. But yeah, a lot of it had to be done in order to save the fact that shit went down on Nitro before that would have conflicted with what was going on here, and that is 100% totally WCW's fault. Why set up a first family Harlem Heat angle? Literally, they had an angle. It was a Mean Gene interview with the first family where the Barbarian was going to eat some fucking ass, and yet this is what ends up happening: is we have this interview, we have a pretty interesting angle, we have a good hook for a tease for next Thunder. Like, okay, we know a match is going to happen next Thunder. The tag titles are on the line. And then what do? They fucking pull, I don't know, like a 180 on us. And now we don't have that anymore. But because it's pre-taped, everyone's acting like it on TV, like it's a tag title match, except for the commentary. It's a complete and utter waste. Which once again also kind of turned me off from the 6-man for the same reasons. We now have new tag team champions that are jobbing to, 3 guys. Don't get me wrong, I like Eddie and Ray and Kidman, but if you're trying to make your tag champions look good because they're the champions, why on a pre-taped show? You could just remove that. Give us some Nitro recap. Which, by the way, where the fuck was that in this show? Like, this was like a complete, like, 100% Thunder show, which I think we may have said has happened like twice in its entire existence. So
it doesn't
that was
happen
also
very
really
often,
weird.
that's for sure.
It doesn't.
And
But
I guess
overall,
they could have easily, to edit some of that tag team bullshit out, they could have literally replayed the match from Nitro where, Harlem Heat lose the titles instead of showing the Harlem Heat versus the First Family,
I mean, give me something that's going to make a little bit of sense. But overall, WCW just needs to do a better job of structuring the show. At this point now, I think this is also the same night that SmackDown is now a weekly show. Before it was kind of like a special that they did every once in a while, but now this is like tonight was also the night of the first episodic releases of SmackDown. So looking at the card from there, you had Chris Jericho making his wrestling WWE debut. He wrestled the Road Dogg, and then you had Triple H defending the world title against The Rock. That was what was on SmackDown. Who in their right mind is gonna make me want to watch the Cat versus Prince Iaukea?
Brutal, absolutely brutal. That's just, you ain't gonna win shit with that. But yeah, I mean, I don't really have much to add. It was rough, and what made it even rougher is I went through the trouble of rewatching it before we recorded, so I actually spent extra time. Sometimes you wonder if COVID should just take your life, and sometimes in an episode like this,
You weigh your options.
You do weigh them. That said, that is our show this week. If you haven't yet subscribed, go do it. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know. Welcome us back. Tell us you missed us. even live if you really didn't. Of course, you guys follow us on social media at Thundercraps, and you can always go to thundercraps.com for all of our previous episodes. And then you can go check out Thunder 78. It is September 2nd, 1999. The Russo era is growing ever so closer, Kyle. And we're going to have a lot to talk about when that happens. That said, for Kyle Hogan, I'm Josh Kaiser, and we will see you next time on the Thundercraps podcast.
We are sweat plus sacrifice equals successfully out of time. See ya.